Well, hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I own a multi-7-figure-a-year coaching business. I'm also a certified life coach. So I have the honor of helping thousands of women every single month make money in the online space and help them to get unstuck from whatever is holding them back, all without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, you're going to get the very best life and business advice, always with a healthy dose of Jesus. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited that you are here. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. This is podcast episode number 283, the one where I'm going to step on your toes if you're in business. Just a little bit. It's just a little bit. Like I'm just going to step on your toes a little bit. Okay. So listen, I work with women every single day inside of either my Creators Inner Circle, which is my monthly group. We launched the Better Way program, which is, monetizing your business in 8 different ways. We launch that every spring and every fall. And then I have my mastermind with over 50 women in it, that I talk with those women on a daily basis. And so I see and talk to a lot of women who have businesses. And I'm going to tell you a comment that I have seen quite a bit lately. And I just want to discuss it here with no shame, but I just want to be able to be the kind of coach that will give you a hug, but also just kind of prod you into keeping going because I love you, but this is not going to help build your business. So what I've been seeing a lot inside of my inner circle, my mastermind, are people launching something out into the world. Maybe it's a new course. Maybe it's a new membership group, or perhaps a new product that you have, or maybe you're doing one-on-one consulting for the first time. And so they're launching this out into the world. But what they will say is, well, I didn't sell a whole lot because I didn't push very hard. And whenever I see those words, and that's the verbiage they always use, I didn't push very hard. I always think to myself, and they're never happy with their results, but the results are coming from the fact that they didn't push too hard. And let's talk about why they didn't push too hard. That's what the issue always comes back to. And yes, sometimes it's life. Sometimes it's the cat has an appendicitis, or, the kids are going back to school or what have you. But often it is something much deeper. And most of you at this point know that I, have gotten a life coaching certification. I have always been drawn to getting to the root of things. And the root of things often is how we think about the thing. And so in order to get to the root of why we're not pushing very hard, we have to sometimes back the train way up and figure out, well, how are you looking at the idea of launching? What are you actually thinking about presenting something brand new, or again, to your audience, to your email list? What are the emotions that you have attached to that are making you go not all in? And I can tell you with 100% certainty that it always comes back to fear, because for a lot of women, it feels vulnerable. So it's they're afraid if they push too hard also. So, okay, on one hand, it's vulnerable because of what if nobody buys? Excuse me. But on the other hand, it's vulnerable because if you do push really hard, let's say you actually do go all the way in, and then you don't get the results that you want either, then you're like, oh my gosh, the last time I didn't really push very hard, and Jen said push really hard. So this time I pushed really hard, and not really that many more people bought. And so that feels really vulnerable also, right? It feels vulnerable both ways. And the truth is, anytime you come onto your social media, onto your email, and you're presenting something new, you're not going to know if it's going to be successful. There will always be some fear attached to that. What if this is a miserable idea? What if I can't actually coach them in the way that I said? What if this particular pair of jeans, this line that I'm offering now at my boutique, what if it's awful and nobody buys it? Whoever knows, really, right? Whoever really knows. But I want to just talk to you about the idea of not pushing very hard, because not pushing very hard is never going to get you the results that you want. Pushing really hard and seeing what happens, that may get you the result that you want. They're two very, very different things. But being scared of the outcome is the reason why people do not push hard. So let's talk real quick about how I need you to rethink about the idea of putting something out into the world for sale in order for you to see some success. Okay. Number one, I want you to stop thinking of not pushing very hard. It really is like a wimpy position. I love you, but I'm just saying that. Because if it's going to come from the place of fear, like it's one thing to not push very hard because I said I was going to launch on September 1st. I'm going to launch on September 1st, but then, life went sideways. And so I just didn't have the ability. It's a whole nother thing when you're like, okay, let me just post something on Instagram real quick. And if I get a couple sales, then I'll post again. And then if I get a couple sales, and this is maybe not the internal dialogue you're having with yourself, but I guarantee you this is what your brain is doing. Your brain's thinking, let me just have a little bit of an endorphin hit by a couple sales, and then I'll know it's safe to post it on Facebook. And then if I get a couple hits there, then I'll have that validation that I'm looking for, and then I can go all in. The truth is you've got to go all in from the get-go. In order for you to have the results in your business that you want to, you're going to have to push harder than what you want to. You're going to have to be sick of hearing yourself talk about your new art classes that you're offering or the new earring line that you just came out with. And I know what you're thinking. Okay, my people are going to get sick of it. No, they're not. They're following you because you told them you were going to show them earrings you have for sale. Like, at what part of them is going, oh my gosh, I can't believe Melissa is posting about her earrings again. No, they actually are following you because they wanted to buy your earrings. Okay. So you are going to have to go all in. The better way of launching something is going all in, of getting really sick of yourself almost. Follow a launch calendar. Listen, even before I had a whole team of people, I would print out a calendar. I would literally go into like Google, print out the month calendar, and I would remind myself, okay, start talking about the launch on, a week ahead of time. The day before the email comes out, make sure I'm saying something on social media. On the day that we're going to open up the cart, then, 2 emails at least need to go that day. If I'm going to close the cart, then I got to have 3 emails on that day. Like, set yourself some sort of a launch calendar. If you are in like my mastermind, you have a launch calendar in there. If you've been in my Better Way program, there are launch calendars inside of there, but you've got to have some sort of a strategy. And if you're like, Jen, I don't have any strategy, that's the problem, then that's what you need to fix. So get with a coach that can give you a strategy. Come get in my mastermind, get in one of my groups. I don't care. But I don't want you to just like dip your toe in on selling something and then recoil because nobody buys and then think to yourself, oh, I must have a bad product or I must have a bad course or this is what nobody wants. And see, this is why I need to stay at my day job instead of go all in on my night job because nobody's buying from me. Well, nobody's buying from you because you're not going balls to the wall. And I love you, but there is literally no time for like this dipping our toe in and retreating and dipping our toe in and retreating. It will not get you the results that you want. Yes, it may feel like you are standing on the internet naked. Get used to it because this is what everybody that is making a lot of money on the internet has felt like and has worked through and pushed through anyway. It's not that it doesn't necessarily ever go away. I mean, we're getting ready to launch my Better Way program again in the fall. That still feels vulnerable. We just are launching my life coaching group. Feels really vulnerable. What if nobody signs up for it? What if it turns out that I don't even know what the heck I'm doing? Those are all the things that still go through my brain. And if they've been going through your brain, the truth of the matter is you still have to do it anyway. Fear does not release us from our calling. Remember, I talked about this in my book, Fear is Not the Boss of You. Fear does not release you from your calling. If God has instructed you to do something, if you have an inkling that's what you're supposed to be doing, if this is where your gifting is at, this is where you have found favor, just because you're scared doesn't mean you get to do it like with just dipping a toe in. When you think about like companies that are big, huge name brands. I mean, like when I think of like Bath and Body Works, for instance, when they're releasing their fall scents, like they don't just kind of dip their toe in and not really push too hard on their launch. Heck no, I'm getting email after email after email. When Taco Bell just, decided that they were going to like bring back their Mexican pizza, like they're not halving it, friends. They're going all in with letting everybody know Mexican pizza is back. So for you to think, I just don't want to push too hard, it's like a hobby mindset. And so if you're still in this place of like, why is my business still paying me like a hobby? Part of it is that. Because when you're in actual legit business and when you actually depend on that business to put food on your family's table, and when your kids need new shoes for school and you need money to do that comes from your business, or you've got a kiddo that's heading to college and you need to be able to pay tuition, when it comes to that, you'll quit playing like a hobby. But if you still have a day job, something to fall back on, somebody else's income you can rely on, if you're way too much in your head, you're going to keep playing as if it's still a hobby when you don't really have to have the money, or you really don't have to have this be successful. I can tell you one of the best things that has happened to my business is that Jason and we're all in on this. Like this, we have to continue growing this because this is like providing, entirely for our family and some of our other extended family members. So the not pushing too hard, just kind of like throwing it out there to kind of see what happens, just throwing a little bit of spaghetti against the wall. That is not working, friends. And it's especially not going to work in the year 2022 because your buyers are way more savvy. They don't want to buy from people who aren't pushing too hard. They literally don't, because what that signals to your audience is, this is just something I'm playing with. And I don't want to buy a product or a service or a course or a group from somebody that's playing. Do you? I mean, one of the reasons I'm able to keep so many people inside of my inner circle every single month, year after year after year, is because I've been doing it year after year after year. I've been talking about it year after year after year. People know I'm not just like toying with that just to kind of see what happens. And so if people sense, oh, she's just kind of wanting to see what happens here. She's just putting this out there. She's not really talking about it that much. I only got like one email from her and then nothing else. I wonder what happened. People are not going to sign up for it. So it's like you are producing your own outcome by thinking you're self-protecting and not pushing too hard. Whew. Listen, I am fired up today. I love you too much to let you stay stuck where you are. Okay. You're going to have to talk about whatever it is you're selling more than you want to talk about it. You're going to have to get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. You're going to have to get to where you're like, I have no idea if anybody will even buy this, but I'm going to leave it all out on the table. I'm going to put this marriage class for sale up on my website. Start actually talking about it on Instagram. I'm going to do a TikTok about it. I'm going to do some Facebook Lives. I'm going to see what happens. And I'm going to go all in for the next 4 to 7 days on this launch and actually see what happens. And then I'll have good data. But this dipping our toe in, this not pushing too hard, it's never going to give you the results you want or the data that you need in order to figure out what your people are actually going to respond to. So that's my challenge for you today. And I know that this stepped on some of your toes. That's okay. We don't make big changes from just, Lucky Charms and unicorns. And so I hope that this was exactly what some of you needed today in order to just hold your own feet to the fire. That's what real entrepreneurs do. They hold their own feet to the fire. They don't go in, I'm not going to push too hard because I just kind of want to see what happens. That's not real entrepreneurship. Go all in, friends. Go all in. See what kind of results you can get out of it. Make your changes then. I am so rooting for you. Do me a blessing. Forward this podcast on to somebody. And if this spoke to you today, would you just go over and leave me a 5-star rating on my podcast? I rarely ask you guys to do that. But if you're listening right now on a podcast app, you can go down to where everybody else has left reviews. And somebody left me not a 5-star review. So now I'm at 4.9 and angry. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But if you wouldn't mind just hitting the 5 stars, that would be amazing. And share this with somebody else who can learn something from it. Love you so much. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.